this is our GMV Max dashboard, and I want to break down everything that you need to know in order to be successful and help you grow and scale on TikTok Shop. So let's just dive right in and go over the main components of UI and also the features that are in here that you may not yet know of on how to manage campaigns. Now, we've managed multiple six-figure a month campaigns inside of here, and I want to just kind of walk you through what those components are to really help you know if you're doing everything that you should be doing in order to manage your GMV Max ROI and help you grow and scale on the platform. So first and foremost, here's your main dashboard. You've got all of your main metrics right here, and you can select between them to see which ones. Your data ranges here. And you've also got a section over here for campaigns and creators, which we'll look at in just a second. Down below, you've got basically your product GMV Max and live GMV Max. You can run live GMV Max campaigns where you can send traffic directly to your live streams when you go live. And those can be really powerful to help you get a boost in traffic to your live streams to be able to sell live, do flash sales, and things like that. Now, that's a whole nother video we'd have to talk about doing live streams for brands because there's quite a lot to it. But this is basically where you see all of your product GMV Max campaigns. So just as similarly, you'd run a meta campaign or a traditional ad campaign. These are all your campaigns that you can set up. And if you wanted to go ahead and set up a new campaign, you would go ahead and click Create GMV Max Ads. And that's where you would then select your products and the creative that you want to run inside of GMV Max. So outside of that, the way that you access GMV Max is through the TikTok Ads Manager. So many people get confused about where it is. You've got to create a business center and then create an ad account and then link your seller center or TikTok Shop to your business center so then you can access GMV Max. So the main homepage is pretty straightforward for the most part. But what you really need to know here is diving deeper into the actual campaign, because it's so much more than just getting content and having that cycle in and that helping you grow and scale. You've actually got to be able to look at the creatives, right? So let's go over here to the creatives. This is a new tab they've actually added fairly recently where you can actually see a breakdown of how many creators you have, how many pieces of content are getting authorized. You can also see the velocity at which you're getting content. So you can see here on this account, we have 923 total authorized videos, and creators with mass authorization have 461. So we can see a little bit of growth that happens as we work with a brand, or as you work with your brand. You can actually see the growth potential of the creators that you are getting and how that is growing over time, right? So you can see your velocity. Now below, you'll actually get a view of all of the video IDs from the creators and the products they're promoting and what kind of type of authorization type they have. And so this allows you to kind of go in here and have a look at the creatives. In terms of the data, you can see the gross revenue they've generated, the cost per order, the ROI of every creative. So you can kind of get an understanding of like which content is doing well, which creator is doing well, and you could potentially set up collaborations with the creator to make more content for you, or you could take video scripts or content that is being created from creators getting sales to then give to your other creators or sending through your creative briefs with a tool like Reacher or Yuka. Okay, so that is how you can kind of view creators at a high level, but this doesn't really give us a whole lot of depth into the creative at all. So we want to dive a little bit deeper into this. And I anticipate that TikTok Shop will probably open up more access to things over time and get more information about the data. They don't really show everything, which is kind of a bit frustrating, which is why we need to do a little bit of deep diving here. So when we click on the creators here, we can then go ahead and see the amount of videos that the creator has actually made at more of a high level rather than a video level. So you can see here, this creator's made 50 videos, this one's made 15, 31, 6, 2, 2, 4, right? And so we can come down here and we just see how many videos are being made, how much have they generated in terms of, or from the actual creator. And then that can also give you an indication of where you should be putting your focus and your time into either messaging or reaching out to them and bringing them into your brand inner circle, which we talk about in other videos, about creating a community of creators that you can speak to and give feedback on the content that they're making to help them make better content, to help them make content that actually gets sales. So this is a good resource because it kind of gives you a bit of a pulse check on what your total authorized videos are, what videos are doing well, and what creators are also making a lot of videos for your brand. A lot of times, the creators who are making a lot of videos for your brand, that can show that they're either a bit more committed to selling your product, maybe they're more passionate about their product, or they believe in what you're selling, and so that's why they're making videos on it. So sometimes what you can do is identify creators that are creating a lot of content and that you can see they're putting forth effort to make content, but maybe their GMV isn't as high as you'd want it to be. this could be a good opportunity for you to come in and offer them a lower retainer in order to get them on board to make more content, to then help them actually generate more GMV with their content. There's a few different things that you can do with this information, but it is really informative to help you kind of understand how the creators are actually doing. This basically covers the creatives tab here. Let's go back over to our campaigns. We're actually going to dive into the campaign details as well and have a look at that, because this is really the other angle that you can go in and look at information. So you've got the three dots here where you can edit the main details of the campaign, but you want to view the details because this is going to take us into the creatives as well and be able to see what stage of the creative is, or what stage of what phase is the creative in terms of getting it to deliver and getting it to get sales. So we're inside the campaign here, and if we come down to the products, basically you'll have your products here. You may be promoting one, you may be promoting multiple. I highly recommend that in terms of strategy, which this video isn't about strategy necessarily, but I'm trying to give you a few pointers here at a high level, is running less products and being more dialed in on specific SKUs is ultimately going to be better for you, because remember that you're creating momentum with the listing. So when you think about how you're advertising on TikTok Shop, if you have 100 SKUs, you're going to have to continuously get reviews and sales on every single one of those products unless they're variants of the same product listing. And so what we recommend is when you're trying to scale and you're trying to grow, honing in on a specific SKU or set of variants underneath one SKU, or having an omni listing. There's actually a platform that allows you to create an omni listing where you can sync over your Shopify SKUs and Shopify IDs into a bundle through this particular app, and then list that on TikTok Shop, so that if someone makes a piece of content on a variant, it's still funneling into the main product card. It's still funneling to the main product listing, which will then help you actually focus more on getting reviews and sales on that one listing, which builds more trust, which then more creators want to work with you because you have more social proof. It shows up the amount of sales you have and the amount of reviews you have on one listing, instead of spreading, say, 100 reviews across 100 products with one review per product. You have 100 reviews on one product listing, which will help you actually build momentum faster with your TikTok shop. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that was a lot, but that's really, really important. So in this case, we've got a main product. We're going to go ahead and click the button that says View Creatives. This is going to pull up our creatives and be able to show us what is in-queue learning, delivering, boosted, and boosting, okay? There's a few other categories too. If you do download or export this data, you can export the data and then view it in a spreadsheet where you can actually see there's a few different categories like unauthorized or not delivering, right? There are some in there that you can see not delivering. So you actually see how many creatives have been tested, but then are not delivering or not running active ad spend on, which is kind of a cool little insight to have. So when we're here in this stage, this is really what we like to look at, because this breaks down the creative and we can also see like where they are in what stage. Now you'll notice that at this point we have 85 in queue, 0 in learning, 18 in delivering. The main reason for that is this specific campaign, we are heavily boosting videos, and we've found that on this account with the new campaign, boosting these videos have been very, very helpful in order to get it out of the learning phase. So keep in mind that when in GMV Max, your learning phase is 50 sales in a week. To exit learning phase, you need 50 sales in a week. And so if you want to get out of learning phase and haven't been out of learning phase in a while, it is highly recommended that you just start a new campaign and let all the creatives then relearn and be put in queue and learning to then be put in delivering, and then make sure that you actually push towards getting 50 sales in a week, right? It might mean that you have to spend more money on ads. It might mean you need to hand select some creatives to boost on those specific creatives that maybe have gotten a sale in the past, or that you see as has more potential to get sales based on the information that you have, the information that you know about your brand and product. All right. So we're boosting a lot of creatives here. So you can see we have 18 delivering and no learning, because what's happening is the entire budget of $100 a day is actually being utilized in the boosting. So there's nothing in learning because there's no budget to go to learning outside of the campaign budget. So that's important to keep in mind here. And that's why it would normally show learning if you are not boosting any posts, or if the boosting videos that we're doing is less than the budget, because it would need to spend some of the budget on learning and new creatives. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. So from here, this is really where you get to analyze things, okay? So you want to think about in-queue learning and delivering as if you can see inside of the algorithm. You're basically getting an inside look into how the GMV Max algorithm is working and what it's doing with your creatives. And so you can kind of see that there's a bit of a funnel happening, right? Where new content will come into in-queue. It'll be queued up to then go into the learning phase, which basically means that it will get some spend and see if some of the creators will spend and get sales. What we also see within this phase, in the learning phase, is that sometimes the learning phase, creators will get put into not delivering, which basically means that they've learned and be put into not delivering when they've only spent like a couple of cents. Sometimes in that case, what we'll do is for specific videos that we really want to push, we'll actually boost that video. It's a minimum of $10 a day for boosted posts. We'll boost that video $10 a day for a few days to see if it gets sales. And if it doesn't, we can then move it back out of boosted to just not delivering. So sometimes there's a weird thing where some creators won't spend because you've got so much creative volume coming in. But if you had a much higher budget, it would spend more on those creators because your budget can kind of handle the capacity of the amount of content that you're getting into GMV Max. So this is kind of how you look at your funnel. Really, like what you want to be gauging is like the health of this, right? So if you're not boosting, kind of what we're doing with over the budget, you'll have in-queue, learning, and delivering. So you want to keep in-queue, you want to have videos in queue, right? You want to have videos in learning, because as soon as you run out, what ends up happening is you fall into this place where you could run into creative fatigue. Creative fatigue is a big problem across all advertising. But if you continue to funnel it with new content, that's why we try and set a target and a KPI for you guys to hit 7 pieces of content a day. 7 pieces of content a day is the goal. It doesn't need to be the requirement to get sales, but 7 pieces of content per day funneling into GMV Max is where you really want to be doing 50, 100K, 200K a month on TikTok Shop, right? And you want to increase it from that. So whatever your max capacity is, with maintaining that quality at the highest volume of content, you want to have that content cycling into your campaign no matter what, right? So what else can you look at here in terms of the creatives, right? So you can have a look at the statistics by scrolling across, and sometimes there's a weird bug where the scroll bar actually doesn't show up. So we're just going to scroll across like this by highlighting, and you can kind of see like what's the gross revenue, the ROI, similar thing to what we saw in the creative section. It's pretty similar statistics on each creative, but this way you can actually see where they are in different stages. So we can go to delivering, and we can actually see what creators are delivering. We can see what creators are boosted, and we can switch between all of them to be able to just see what stage of the advertising campaign are they in, and how does GMV Max actually see this specific creative and creator in this specific stage of the advertising campaign, right? So if we've got not a lot in delivering, then you can expect that your ROI is not going to be very high, because guess what? If you don't have a winning creative, or what GMV Max would deem as a winning creative, then your ROI is most likely going to be under 1, right? You're going to be at 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, right? But if you have some in delivering, right, usually I think I typically see somewhere between, if you have like over 5 or 6 delivering videos, I typically see better results in GMV Max campaigns across brands. But when you're at like, 15 to 25 creatives, you're in a really, really good place to be able to scale and get better results, right? So that's really what you want to be looking for in terms of delivering. The learning phase, again, you just want to have creators in learning, and then you never want to hit 0 in queue, all right? So you never want to hit 0 in queue, because that would imply that you're prone to creative fatigue, because once those delivering creators run long enough, they're going to have a diminishing return in ROI, and you're going to have no new creative to refresh with. So your ROI is going to go down over time. So that's kind of how you want to look at this as well, in terms of, the funnel. And then you can actually create a boost by just clicking edit. So if you ever want to like boost a video, you click edit over here. This will pull up a menu where you can then select how much of a daily budget you want. Minimum of $10 per. You can set an end time if you want to run it for a certain period of time during a promotion. But that is where you set the daily budget, you hit confirm, and it's all good to go. Now, if you want to stop a creative boost, all you have to do is come into the video that's creative boosted and hit this button down here that says delete. It will not delete the creative, it will just stop the daily budget spend, okay? All right, so there is some AI features here as well. You can read a little bit more about like what the in-queue learning and delivering is. You can see that they show the not delivering and not active here as well. They give definitions for each, so you guys can read through that. I'll pause the video to read this. But I've kind of explained everything here for you. And like I said, if you wanted to kind of export and see the full list of other categories that aren't here, you can actually export data right here, which is kind of nice. And you can pull it into a spreadsheet. So as I said, we've been testing a lot of max delivery and target ROI over the last several months. And what we've found is that target ROI with Creative Boost is just a better combination rather than just going max delivery, because I was just trying to find it here where the target ROI is, but the target ROI cannot be changed from target ROI to max delivery because we have Creative Boosted videos. So when you have Creative Boost on, you can't actually go into max delivery. Max delivery is essentially like, it's creative boosting your entire ad creatives, like your ad creative library. So all the hundreds of creatives that you have, it's going to boost everything rather than you hand specifically picking one at a time. So if you have a little bit of knowledge about content, you understand a little bit about what's been working, then it's much better to manually boost a creative than to go into max delivery, because it's just going to mindlessly spend without any consideration for your ROI. And sometimes that can take a very long time for it to work. So we set target ROI and we set a low target ROI. We've got our 0.1 right now, which is really low, but we're giving the algorithm the most chance to kind of figure out where it needs to go, where, let GMV Max spend. But remember, we're capping this at $100 a day budget, and we're making up that budget by creative boosting. So that's why we're not spending like a crazy amount towards the target ROI, because the campaign budget is taken up by $100 worth of creative boosting, because we have 16 videos that are being boosted. So that's kind of been the strategy that's been working for us on the last like 3 to 6 months. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about GMV Max. There's not much else really that you need to do. I would not pay attention to the recommendations that GMV Max says, like right here on the homepage. It's recommending that we spend $10,000 a day, which I think is kind of insane, right? That doesn't make any sense. So just tread lightly with those recommendations. But that's pretty much everything you need to know about GMV Max. Really dial in and look at the creative analysis by going to the creative tabs and then looking all the way in at your view details and view creatives. That will really help you to understand more about what's going on through GMV Max campaigns. So this has been a quick one. Hopefully you've learned a lot of value. I tried to fire hose you with as much as I knew here about GMV Max. If you want to learn more of the strategy behind GMV Max and getting your GMV Max campaign converting better, then make sure you go and watch this video next that will run you through the strategy and approach of how we turned around an ROI from around 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, all the way up to 3.3 plus. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video.